Hello guys, welcome back to Coding. So last time we have discussed about how do we define arrays in a C++ program. Now today we are going to learn about structures in C++. How do we define structures, how do we initialize the structures, and how do we use structures in C++. So guys, if you are liking my videos, do like, share and subscribe to my channel. What do we mean by a structure? So when we talk about structure, like we have in an array were of homogeneous data types. Now, when we talk about structures, it is called a heterogeneous data type. In homogeneous data type, what we meant, like if we are defining any one single data type, it will have the variables of the same type. Now, when we are defining a structure can hold different kinds of variables only under one single name. Now, when we talk about structure, it is similar to a class. But the basic difference between a class and a structure is when we define a structure, we always use a keyword struct, and by default all the members of a structure are public. And whereas when we are defining a class, the members of the class are by default private, and all the members that we need to define in the class will be done with the help of a class. Whereas structures include all the members that we can access it anywhere and they are public, and we always need to use the struct variable whenever we are defining a structure. Now we have a basic syntax that how we define a structure. First of all, what we will write, struct. Struct is the keyword whenever we want to define the structure. Then we have the structure tag. Structure tag basically means like we were defining the array, we were defining an array name. When we are using a structure tag, it means we need to define the name of the structure. Then when we will start the block, we will have some data members and it declaration. Data member in declaration means like if you want to define int a, so it will be a data member, and declaration will be a and is of data type integer. Like we have member function. Like we were defining functions, we can also make the functions within the structure and define their structure name. Now we also have a block ended, and then we have a semicolon. Whenever we are closing a structure, we need to use a semicolon at the end of the structure block. Now this is a small example in which I have showed you how we define a structure. We have used the word struct, then the name of the structure is date. Now what we are using in that structure, we are using a variable named day, month and year. Now we have used a short name data type over here. It is similar to a int data type. Thus the difference is that it includes less number of data than that was introduced in int. As we were declaring the structure variables inside the structures, we can also define the structure variable outside the structure block. Like after we complete the block statement, we can also use the structure variable outside the block. So the basic terminology that we used in this is struct keyword, then the structure name, then the variable type, and then we can define some structure variables through which we can access the member functions as well as the data members outside the structure. Whenever we are referencing a structure element, when we talk about referencing a structure element, means like we have defined some elements in the structure, like we were defining a data member, we are defining a member function. So whenever we want to access that data members into a main function, that is called as referencing of a structure element. So once the structure is defined, its members can be accessed to the use of which operator, dot operator. I have defined you here through which operator we can reference the structure element with the help of dot operator. Its syntax is basically the structure name and then the element name through which we want to access the data. For example, I have declared a date in the following. So what I will do, birth date dot year equals to 1740, means I want to initialize some value to a year, that is 1740, and want to access that. So here what does it mean? The first expression of a component involving the dot operator is the specific structure variable birth date. In this case, what we have defined a structure variable birth date. So this is known as a referencing of a structure element. Understand what do we mean by structure with the help of a program. Now in this program we are just using the values of the structure data members and accessing them in the main function. So what we have done over here, we have defined two header files, iostream.h and conio.h. So first of all, the iostream files, you know, it is used for cin and cout, and when we are talking about conio.h, it is used for the getCS statement that we have used in the second last line of this program. So first, what are we declaring? We are declaring it as a structure of an employee. EMP, we have just given a short name to employee. So what we have done, struct EMP employee, and then we have made a block of it in which what we are defining the employee number, employee's name, and the basic salary of the employee. After that, we are closing the block. We have created an object that is known as a structure variable also, but we can say it as an object worker. Then we are using a semicolon, that is the point till we have made a structure. After that, in the main function, what we are using, we are asking the user to enter the employee number, then we are asking to enter the name, then we are asking the user to enter the basic pay. So as soon as the user enters the employee number, so what happens? The user will enter the employee number. Employee number will be assessed with the help of the structure variable worker. Like we have defined the variable worker, then we will what we will use worker dot employee number. So it will help us assess the employee number. Means employee number which we have defined in the structure. Similarly, we can go with the name. Similarly, we can go with the basic salary. So after that we got this all, we can also print that result, that what was the employee name, number, and the basic pay. So you will get the desired output as shown in the program output. So this is the basic function of using a structure in a C++. How do we need to define a structure? How do we need to assess the structure? We must also be clear how can we initialize a structure. Now initializing is very important. For example, if you don't want every time the things to be entered by the user, you want to just declare it yourself. So what we can do, we can initialize the structure. The structure element of a structure can be initialized either separately using an assignment operator statement, or we can make it a joint notation. So how we can make it separately and how we can make jointly? We have taken a student type structure over here. In student type structure, what we are defining: roll number, marks, and grade. What are we defining? We are just defining the roll number, marks, as well as the grade, and then we have created a variable through which we will give the values to this with the help of senior student. So when we are using the senior student, what we have done over here, we can define the senior student dot roll number equals to 01, senior student dot marks equals to 50, and senior student grade equals to 8. We are using the dot operator. As I told you, if we want to assess the members of the structure, we need to use the dot operator. So like this, we have defined with the help of a using a equal to style. So the other method was that we can define it in a single line. So now what we have done, we have made the same variable name senior student. So what are we doing? We are defining the roll number, marks, and grade just by differentiating with the comma. So what it will do, it will simply fetch that the first thing is the roll number, second thing is the marks, and the third thing is the grade. So that way we can initialize the structures in two ways, by just using assignment operator or using a single line. Clear about how do we define a structure, how do we reference to a structure, how do we initialize a structure. We must keep some points in mind whenever we define a structure that will be very useful us to program a code. So whenever we define a structure, it should be defined with the word struct. That implies that we need to use that struct keyword whenever we define a structure. Second point that we need to keep in mind is the structure should always end with a semicolon after the block. Whenever the block of the structure is completed, we just need to put a semicolon. If we don't put a semicolon, the structure will not be executed. It will show you a error message. The third point that we need to keep in mind is structure variables to assess the data members can be defined inside the main function or can be defined outside after the struct block. Now, when we were defining the members, so what we were doing, we were either using it after the colon and defining a variable, or what we were using it in the main function. That are the two ways through which we can define a data members. Now, whenever we are using structure, we can make nested structure like structure within a structure, or we can make array of structures, or we can make function within the structure also. These are some of the rules that we can follow while making a structure to make a efficient program. I think you must be clear about how we define a structure, what do we mean by a structure, how do we implement it with the help of a program, referencing of a structure, initializing of the structure, and what rules we need to follow while defining a structure. So if you guys like my video, do like, share and subscribe to my channel. And you can see the previous videos over here. You can see in the right hand side or the left hand side the first basic video, and also the playlist of the videos like in which you can learn all the C++. And also if you want to see the detailed description of the data that I put in my videos and all, you can visit my blog. I always give a description in my link description, the blog description also. And if you guys are liking my video, please show your support, please share it with friends, and do subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.